Doug's gonna do news with Ron on Friday. I'm gonna do that stuff. Yep. Second hour. I'll just start on that. Yeah.
Gambler's bonus hits again. On May 24th, John hit 4 sixes, clearing his Gambler's bonus one-of-a-kind bingo card for almost $15,000. John hit big, and so can you. With Gambler's bonus, it's why you play the game.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time. Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. Big and loud doesn't always mean right. And the conventional mold doesn't define success. Goodbye, false quick buck promises. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, with integrity, experience, and authenticity. We're champions for the underdog. That happens, and when you need help.
All right, good to see some people here. Let me get this out via Twitter. Thought I tweeted that out all right. Vinnie Bonsignore is joining us today. Jeff Sherman, John Sassenti. All right. Let's have a good time today. What do you think of that Raider roster, everybody? What do we think of this Raider roster? Are we good with it? Are we good with it? Bobby, I think this roster needs to stay healthy. That's my take. How's that for a hot take? This roster cannot afford injuries, period. Might be my biggest day of the year as I host the Raiders State of the Team at team headquarters tonight, which is going to be fun.
In addition, use all the weight 100% guaranteed with Mark Patrick seminars. Let hypnosis destroy unwanted cravings, and here's the rate. That's right. Seminar Sunday, September 8th at the Santa Fe Station Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Weight loss seminars at 11 a.m. Stop smoking seminar, 2 p.m. Registration begins 30 minutes before the seminar. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com.
Allegiant Stadium is the home to world-class events like the Raiders, the Rebels, Pro Soccer, and Superstar Concerts. And your home for the pre- and post-game parties is the Tailgater Tavern.
All right, let's get this going.
Features 24 beers on tap and killer happy hour specials and gaming promotions. Plus, the kitchen is cooking up everything.
They really made Russell Wilson wait till the last day to name him.
Sure did. This is your Sports View headquarters. The Tailgater Tavern at Russell and Valley View, your gateway to the stadium. Sound off, Raider Nation. JT based in noon to 2 p.m. from the most interactive talk show in sports talk radio. We are RNR 920 AM, KRLD Las Vegas.
You're listening to the JT the Brick Show, where the Raider Nation has come to sound off and react for over 20 years.
It's time for JT the Brick.
The main reason why I have the back of the Raider Nation, the main reason why I do this for a living, because of the global disrespect this franchise gets from people who are wrong more than they're right on the radio. The lazy national narrative is the Raiders don't have a quarterback. I mean, really? Yeah, well, the Raiders are one of the worst teams in football. I said, worst teams? They won 8 games.
JT the Brick.
That's why I love you in the Raider Nation. You don't like anything. You're hardcore Raider Nation. You don't like anything until it's proven to you. There are Raider fans in Vegas. There are Raider fans globally. There are season ticket holders. Okay? There's a whole bunch of different Raider fans, but we're all one nation. One nation, the Raider Nation. And we're all on the same page. We want to win. That is another unbelievable article on anti-Raider propaganda. The roster's better than last year.
And now,
Big Boy Radio.
here's JT the Brick.
Yes, we're almost Big Boy Radio. Another few days before we morph into Big Boy Radio and we get rolling here on the flagship of the Silver and Black Raider Nation Radio all over the world on YouTube. You can get that and watch the show and watch me and talk to me before the show starts We think that's a good feature. Speaking of YouTube and streaming, tonight's one of my busiest nights of the year. I have the pleasure and honor of hosting the Raiders State of the Team at team headquarters tonight with the president, Sandra Douglas Morgan, the head coach, Antonio Pierce, and the GM, Tom Telesco. We'll all be on stage together for an hour. If you're a Raiders season ticket holder, you probably got the email. Look in your email to be a part of that tonight in the 5 o'clock hour or so. More details coming on that. So that's what we got tonight, and that'll be a pretty big night. And then I'm hitting the road. We'll do the show tomorrow, and then I'm getting out of here for a couple of days, a little weekend in San Diego. Same program, rock concert, Journey, Steve Miller, Def Leppard. I've been to big shows my whole life. We're friends with Jonathan Cain at Journey. We like to go see him. Golf, Del Mar Racetrack. Wife's never been there. We'll do that, and then we'll fly back. Land Sunday, and then the doubles, Sunday doubles, Monday doubles begin. Oh, Sunday, I'll be at LSU USC at Allegiant Stadium. John Cicenti, the executive director of the Kickoff Classic, will join us in studio today. Also, Jeff Sherman over at the Westgate. It's the last chance if you want to get in these future bets on how much the Raiders are going to win, how many games, what other teams are going to do. The clock is ticking, and Vinnie Bonsignore will join us in about 10 minutes as he'll go over the roster and the club claiming defensive back Thomas Harper. They picked up a defensive tackle in Jonah Lalu off waivers. The team waived defensive tackle Byron Young. Raiders waived cornerback M.J. Devonshire, a 7th-round pick in the draft, and Brandon Faison on the reserve injured list. Faison returned to practice after missing more than 3 weeks with an undisclosed injury. Harper, who played college football at Notre Dame, signed with the Chargers as an undrafted free agent following April's draft. He was waived, and we're going to jump into the waiver wire, the practice squad. That's the focus of my monologue before Vinny comes on. Brought to you by PT's, the best happy hour in town, 5-7, midnight to 2. New locations coming, and Golden Knights coming right around the corner where they're official team partner of them. What you want to do this time of year is leave a little bit of room to go get other players. But those players have to clear waivers. And if you can get them into your organization, you usually do, from talking to multiple GMs on this topic over the years, is you get it because you can have a bigger practice squad now due to what happened with COVID and the additional roster size, which I think is a pretty good thing. So when you look at what the Raiders and Tom Telesco can do now by adding a couple players, normally the players that you add, which I don't know much about these players, didn't see them in the preseason, but an example would be, defensive back Thomas Harper. If you had a high grade on him and he was drafted, you go back to your draft grades. That's really all you have. You're not at practice every day. You're not seeing the other team's tape. You go to your draft grades, and if you say, hey, that's a guy that we liked, but he was drafted earlier than expected, and now he was waived, let's go give him a shot. And that's what happens if you want to add to this roster. But we're talking about guys who are being added to the back end of the roster. We are not talking about picking up Aaron Rodgers here. We're not talking about picking up Brandon Ayuk. We're talking about getting guys at the end of the roster who are normally guys that you bring in for depth. And I'm confident Tom Telesco will do a wonderful job at that. Wonderful job, because that's what he does. And he's had solid drafts, especially with first-round picks. And we'll see what he's able to do here on that. That, to me, is not my focus. My focus is on the 53-man roster as I have it now in front of me. And as I caught it yesterday was kind of an interesting show because we were getting the information on the fly, and we were really getting it on the fly. Who was waived, who was let go, from Matthew Butler to Jalen Guyton, Sincere McCormick, Will Putnam, who had a chance to make the team, Charles Snowden, who everybody seemed to like a lot at the defensive end position, Sam Webb, Christian Wilkerson, someone, if you ask me, in Costa Mesa, I thought he would have made the team as a 5th or 6th receiver. He does not make the team because adding McAllister and what they were able to do at that position. So now I have a roster I could work with. Now I think I could do my job better is evaluate the roster and the players and then turn the show over to you once the season starts and to navigate through you when you call me and say, hey, this guy's not playing well. Should he be benched for this guy? Well, I have the roster in front of me in the practice squad. We can do that. Now I'm just worried about the Charger game. And I'm not so much worried about it. I'm actually really excited about it. And I think it's an important game. Make or break. I've never said week 1 is make or break, nor will I. But I call this the JT the Brick Super Bowl. Because if I can't go all in on this game, then I can't go all in on any game. How's that sound? My wife was asking me that, and my son the other day. You're really playing up this Charger game to be big. I said, what the hell you want me to do? I go, what, you want me to play up the Carolina game? You want me to play up Jacksonville and Atlanta on Monday night later in the year? No, it's go time. So you got a friend and a host, and even if you're not my friend, you don't know me, you're on Twitter, you got someone that's going to be ready. I'm going to have my 10, my A-plus game going into Monday. I'm going all in because I feel like this game is a massive, massive game for this regime, right? This regime, they're going to have plenty of time to figure this out. Okay, they're not on one-year deals. We just got a new head coach who was an interim coach and a new GM. Okay, everything's fine. They're not on the Vegas odds of being let go. But this is an important game for them because it sets the tone. It sets the tone for the season with the players in the locker room who are very optimistic. You know, being around this team a lot, I can tell you this. They're pissed off. They're angry. Not everybody, but, you know, some of them are really angry. They're being disrespected. No one believes in them nationally. Some people don't believe in them locally. You know, and they're at a point now where they're getting really worked up to play a football game. But I don't know how that football game is going to play. I don't know if there's going to be a fumble on a punt return or a strip sack taken the other way. I have no idea, a pick six, nor do you. But the handicappers think they know, and they're going to make the Chargers the favorite at home, but it's pretty much a pick-em game. It's pretty much a pick-em game because the Raiders are going to travel well. It's a short travel trip. They're playing in front of more fans than the Chargers. Chargers have a new coach, a newer roster, a new system. The Raiders kind of know what they're doing. I mean, we saw the end of the year last year. A lot of people didn't. Raiders played their best football last year on the back end of the schedule, fighting for Antonio Pierce to become the head coach. So we just saw that. You know, you mix in one stinker of a game, the 3-0 loss to Minnesota. Other than that, I thought the Raiders played pretty well, beating Kansas City in Kansas City, sweeping Denver, putting up a franchise record against the Chargers. You know the story. They did pretty good, beating the Giants and the Jets back-to-back. They weren't great teams. Got to be nice to have the Giants on the schedule this year or some of the other teams. But you get where I'm going. So the Raiders, as I'm looking at this now, here's my big takeaway on the roster, and it's big. It's really big. They better stay healthy. They have to stay healthy, the stars. Knock wood. Devontae's typically always healthy, so is Max. Okay, they play a lot. They're volume players. They're the two best of the top 20 players in the league. How many teams can say in the entire league that they have two of the top 15 players? Anybody? Who can do that? Who? You tell me. Kansas City with Mahomes and Kelsey? Sure. Then go around. Dak and CeeDee Lamb? Or Dak or CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons? Yeah, I'll do that. But you go around the league, the Raiders have two of the top 15 players. And then they have good players throughout the roster. But they don't have a lot of depth. I'm not impressed with a lot of the depth on this team. I like the tight end room. Brock Bowers hasn't been out there for a while. It seems like they're bringing him along at a pace where he should be good to go. They were right about that with Colton Miller and Jackson Powers-Johnson, by the way, when people were texting me and freaking out, where are these guys? Well, they weren't ready to play. Now they are. And we're hopefully going to see the same thing with Brock Bowers. But this roster must stay healthy. They must be ready to play. No, this team cannot lose 2 or 3 frontline starters. You'd say that about every team, but the Raiders, especially an 8-win team, can't afford to lose that. The other thing I see about this roster are there players who are playing for future contracts. So maybe that's a reason why they didn't spend money. They didn't go out there via free agency, get a Stephon Gilmore, go get a right tackle, whatever they did, because there's some guys here that have to get paid coming up with deals, right? Trayvon Merrick, Divine Diablo. You start going down the list of Malcolm Kuntz. He's a hell of a player, right? What are you going to do with Malcolm Kuntz? If he puts up another 12-sack season, what is he going to demand? You got to pay some people around here, rightfully so. And there's a new regime taking over for an old regime. The old regime took in Tyree Wilson. We don't know what's going on with him. I can't tell you anything about Tyree Wilson. I don't know when he's going to play, what the package is going to look like, but he's got to play well. So there's a lot going into this Charger game, but now I have a roster here that we can take a look at. Do I love the roster? No, I don't love it. But how many Raider rosters have I loved? One with Rich Gannon, when they had Mo Collins and Lincoln Kennedy and Barrett Robbins and, oh my God, that front offensive line, Charlie Garner, Tyrone Wheatley, John Ritchie, Jerry Porter, Jerry Rice, Tim Brown. I go back that far. Those were hell of a rosters. Rod Woodson, Charles Woodson, Leckler, Janikowski. You want to talk about rosters? We've seen some good ones, and we do once a Raider, always a Raider. We study the old rosters of the past, knowing that if you had Biletnikoff and Branch at the same time with Casper, holy cow, with Art Shell and Gene Upshaw, and you go down the list of all the great rosters, this one has the opportunity to be really good. Not great, good for now. And if you heard Tom Telesco's press conference yesterday, he wasn't raving about it. Said you need a couple of days to evaluate this thing. But we do a live radio show every day. We can't wait. I can't wait to wait 3 or 4. So what I did this summer is we did the best games of all time. We interviewed a lot of people. We talked about the Olympics, LeBron, the Yankees, Ohtani, and Judge. Now I dive into football. And I'll go as far as you want me to go. Anything's wide open on this team. Anything you want to ask me, but just don't make it personal. Don't ask me, call my show, and personally embarrass the coach or the owner or everybody else. You will not be here. You'll never be here again. That's all I said. That's the only rule I have. Rip the team. Rip the players. Upset about the loss, fine. Just don't make it personal. Because there's a lot of Raider fans who make things personal on social media. Most of them don't call. Most of them are never seen. They never walk up to the torch. They're never in the black hole. You never see them, but they make noise on social media. And normally they don't exist. You just hit a button and you never see them again. They evaporate. Okay, we don't want that to happen to you. We want everybody in the chat here on YouTube, JT the Brick YT, to get along, have beers together, meet up on a road trip, do all that. But, I can only do summertime radio here for a couple more shows because we got to dive into the Chargers here sooner than later. So we're going to see what's going to happen here. Hey, quick reminder, Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. I'm going to be out there Saturday, September 7th at a brand new store on 5th and Deer Springs from 5 to 7 p.m. That's 6788 North 5th Street. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, one love. I don't do Saturday remotes. Don't do it. I'm doing it for Raising Cane's. I'm going to go out there. They have a brand new store in North Las Vegas, 5th and Deer Springs, 5 to 7, Saturday, September 7th. Excited about Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, radio remote. Get out there and support our proud partners. They're opening up another store, which is really fantastic there. So other than that, around the NFL, CeeDee Lamb got his contract, and we're still waiting on Ayuk. The Trent Williams deal. I'm fascinated on the Niner talk. I know most people aren't Niner fans here on this flagship Raiders station. I get it, but the Niners are kind of the biggest story in sports. They got to get guys in. And the Steelers are going to go with Russell Wilson over Fields as the starting quarterback there. Vinnie Bonsignore is the insider for the Raiders, also one of our co-hosts on our morning show, The Morning Tailgate. All right, Vinny, big picture on the changes to the roster, who was waived, when you saw who was waived, and now the fresh 53. What do you think?
Yeah, and I would still write that 53 in pencil. I would expect and do expect another cornerback to be signed by the end of the day, maybe here pretty soon. So that would be a veteran addition at cornerback. I'm not quite sure who it is exactly yet, but I'm sure that's going to be happening here pretty soon. But, as expected, the Raiders understood that there was some tinkering that needed to be done in terms of defensive line and at cornerback, and that's exactly what they did with the waiver wire pickups, and then also moving on from Byron Young, a third-round pick last year, who just frustrated the Raiders in the last 18 months or so by never quite taking off. He is a candidate to return to the practice squad, but we'll see how that all plays out. And then, of course, putting Brandon Faith on the injured reserve list. He is eligible to come back at some point, but he's going to have to miss 4 games. And I would suspect whoever the Raiders do bring in terms of that veteran cornerback sometime today, I would imagine, would probably fill that role that Brandon Faith was going to fill early in the season as a veteran player, experienced player who can, play that role as a rotational cornerback.
What's your reporting on the backup cornerbacks on Devonshire and what I saw earlier today?
Yeah, so he's been waived, and I think he's also a prime candidate to return on the practice squad. Yeah, I think that he's a guy that the Raiders like, and they feel like there's development there. But in terms of a role right out of the gate, especially with Brandon going down, and the lack of experience that they have behind that spot, they probably wanted to strengthen that position at least early on, and let a guy like MJ maybe go to the practice squad, or that would be the hope for further development.
Vinnie Bonsignore is our guest. So McAllister had a big game, which we love. For everybody who says, why do they have the preseason? I know you get it all the time, more on radio. Why do they have these preseason games? So guys like McAllister and Keaton can make the team. And that's what this league is predicated on, that you can have a dream to not be drafted or drafted late and make the team and start off what could be a great career, maybe even a Hall of Fame career. So the fact that those two additions were on the back end of the roster and played well, what does this say in your mind about Telesco and the team he's trying to build?
Yeah, and as Tom mentioned yesterday, the Tyreek McAllister signing was done before he even got on the job. That was a Champ Kelly and the pro personnel staff that saw Tyreek up in Canada and said, hey, this guy might be somebody that's worth bringing in. Maybe not at running back, but at wide receiver. See what we can get out of him. And to Tyreek, credit. Here's a guy that's grown by leaps and bounds as a wide receiver, and I think obviously he showed you on Friday. Number one, he's got NFL return skills like right now. That's a guy that could be an asset in that part of the game, ASAP. But he also showed with the 2 catches and the 35-yard touchdown catch that he's grown quite a bit since OTAs at wide receiver, and I think he's just scratching the surface. He's a guy that I think Raider Nation should be excited about in terms of his future, not just as a return player, but also as a potential weapon at wide receiver.
Vinnie Bonsignore is our guest. So as you're attending practice after camp is over, Brock Bowers hasn't been around much lately, but any reporting on what could happen with him, as it looks like he should be ready to go for the road opener in LA?
Yeah, I think right now they're just playing it as safe as possible. They're only practicing short term here the last couple of days, about an hour-long practices. They'll get dived in and dialed in next week when they start actual preparations for the Chargers. So I think right now they're just being as cautious as they possibly can. He was somebody that in training camp, if you were there day by day, he understood his role. He was picking things up really quickly, all the things that they're going to be asking him to do. So I think they feel really comfortable that he knows this offense and will be dialed in come that season opener. But as of right now, the key is to get him ready for the season opener, make sure that he's not overextending himself with what he's dealing with, and that would jeopardize that. They fully expect to be out there on Sunday against the Chargers.
Vinny, with Snowden not making the team, being waived, and then we know Tyree Wilson is just too valuable to waive him, or they got to work through this with him. What have you sensed? What have you seen from the open practices, which are very vanilla because of the fans being there, to the practice sessions you've been at, the work, talking to coaches and people on the inside on his development leading into the first quarter of the season?
Yeah, and Snowden is the guy that's back on the practice squad, so he's back out there at practice with the team. That was something that the Raiders were hoping would happen, so that they get somebody that they liked a lot in practice. But obviously there's a numbers game. So Charles Snowden's back on the practice squad, and with Tyree, it's just somebody that when you look at him, you see the size, you see the strength, you see the quickness and the athletic ability, and it's just a matter now of kind of unlocking it. I know Raider fans. And maybe some people inside the building get a little frustrated that it's not happening, as quickly as they want it to. And that's all understandable. But all you have to do is look at a guy like Malcolm Kuntz to understand that sometimes patience is required. I don't care if you're a 7th pick overall or somebody that was drafted in the 3rd or 4th round. If there's something there, if there is potential there, it's worth putting that time in. And I know that everybody in the building understands that Tyree wants it. There's nothing about that that anybody's questioning. It's just kind of unlocking it on the field and becoming a more confident player and somebody that thinks less and plays more. So they still feel obviously that there's something there to be able to get out of him, and they're willing to continue to put that development time into him. I know, like I said, it's frustrating. He's a 7th pick overall. You want that to pop immediately, but this is one of those cases, unfortunately, where patience is going to be required, and the hope is that at some point it turns out to be close to the player that they hoped he was going to be when they drafted him.
Wrapping it up with Vinnie Bonsignore, Vegas Nation, our teammate here on Raider Nation Radio, all the great work that he does locally and nationally. So, Vinny, as I look at the depth of this team, I like the roster. I've been talking about that all preseason. It's a good roster. You have two of the top 15 players in the league, I think, and Devontae still in his prime and Max ascending as one of the premier players in the league. But the depth of this team concerns me. So the starters got to be healthy. That's just guessing. We're hoping they stay healthy. What do you think is the most important thing that you've seen with this roster construction to go out and compete for the playoffs, with the depth of the team, the game plan of Luke Getsy, the health of the team, and the starters who made this team?
Yeah, I like the weapons. I think there's depth there. Obviously, a guy like McAllister and DJ Turner and Trey Tucker add that speed component and that explosiveness that I felt like he kind of lacked a little bit last year. I think Trey added to it last year, but I think he's a much more explosive player this year, just understanding his role and being better physically right now. And obviously, McAllister kind of speaks for itself. Brock Bowers is a guy that I think is going to add explosiveness to it. In terms of the depth defensively, that's still a work in progress without question. Byron Young, that's a disappointment. That's a guy that the Raiders were hoping would take a big step forward. It just hasn't happened. Does he come back on the practice squad? Potentially. Maybe somebody out there wants to put a waiver wire claim in on him and get him into their building. We'll see how that kind of all pans out. But they definitely need somebody like a Tyree Wilson and a Nessa Jade Silvera, to step forward and be somebody that they believe can be a rotational defensive lineman. Because we know, obviously their starting defensive line is as good as it gets in the NFL, but you need that depth. I think they feel a lot better about their linebacker room now. They got 7 of them. We'll see how that all kind of plays out, but I think they like where the Amari Gainers and the Amari Bernies and, when Tommy Eichenberg gets back out here, I think they like the depth and the long-range potential of some of those guys to potentially be starters next year, depending on how things go with their current starters who are, not under contract after this year. Obviously, cornerback's going to be a position that they keep an eye on. There's a lot of hope for DeCamerion Richardson, but maybe not right off the bat to fill an important role. As I mentioned, they've got their eye on a veteran cornerback out there. That if and when that happens, now you can bring DeCamerion on at a slower pace and a more moderate pace for a future, payoff potentially this year. So I think the depth, like you said, is something that's worth looking at and developing. Is it there yet? Probably not. But it's a long season, and guys grow as the season goes on.
Yes.
So young players that we might be talking about right now, where they are right now isn't going to be where they're going to be come October and November, and that's the hope. It's like some of these younger players start really developing and proving that they're players that can be depended on sometime this season.
Thank you, Vinny. Thank you, sponsors. Please, on the way out, always appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Dos Catas Tequila. Shout out to Dos Catas Tequila. And definitely lendingstore.com. If you need money quickly, as early as tomorrow, just go to lendingstore.com for all the details.
Take care, Vinny. See you out there. Appreciate you.
Okay, you too.
There's Vinnie Bonsignore. Got him for a few minutes, which always enhances the show. Appreciate him. And check him out on the morning show with Clay and Vince Sapienza, the new addition to that show, which a lot of people are excited about, including me. Good guys, good show, and the lineup continues to evolve, and you'll hear more and more about this lineup going forward. So Vinny's sensing that there's going to be a cornerback maybe by the end of today. I won't quote him, put words in his mouth, but it seems like that's the priority, potentially, another corner. I'll see Tom Telesco tonight at the State of the Team. We do have sound from Tom that we're going to get to. Also, Jeff Sherman from over at the Westgate, the VP of Risk Management. We have him on every 2 weeks for sports, NFL, college, gambling, which will continue to happen here on the show as we're always paying attention to that because we are in Vegas. All right, when we come back, we'll dive into a little bit of what Tom Telesco said yesterday and get you ready for what's going to happen with this team as they count down and get rolling on the way to the Chargers. Don't want to go too early on the Chargers. I do kind of want to go early on the Chargers. But we're going to come in, as Meatloaf said, like a bat out of hell. We're coming in hard for that LA game, where there are more Raider fans in Los Angeles than any fan base in the NFL over the decades, other than the Cowboys and maybe one or two teams. They're coming in hot.
It's the morning tailgate.
I'm just
All right.
fascinated to
Vinny
see
was good.
how this rotates.
Enjoyed having Vinnie on. Yep. Yeah, do this Telesco. Mm-hmm.
I'm intrigued because, as I said, I believe he's one just big confidence boosting play away. Those are the guys that get you fired.
So,
Weekdays at 7
I'm gonna play
a.m.
McAllister
on
part
Raider
coming back.
Nation Radio, 920 a.m. Treasure Island is the best food and entertainment value on the Las Vegas Strip. Treasure Island offers a variety of dining options, including their newest restaurant, the Las Vegas Yacht Club. Enjoy market fresh catches and delectable seafood options. If you're looking for something more casual, check out the Golden
there's one on the second page here, but we're good. This is good. What's going on here, everybody?
With a great bar menu and 20 high-definition plasmas, you won't miss a moment of the action. Visit Treasure Island, where parking is always free.
Everything is so expensive. Gas,
All right.
rent, everything.
What are you talking about? Smoke and vapes. What's going on? Someone stoned on this thing or what?
All about a free loan. You heard
Yeah,
it
this
right.
is the new Modelo.
Is on us.
The new Modelo Raider gear shirts. Yep.
No application fees, no prepayment penalties, and a full week worth of free interest. You can get up to $5,000 in minutes.
Why is Kenny accused of being a little bit out there? Yeah.
Even 5,000, no interest. No
Super Bowl bound Raiders from Kenny, huh? Wow.
interest for the time you have the loan out.
Or just buying tickets.
Yeah.
Call or find a dollar loan center near you. And remember,
Rock is not on the pup list.
First loan is on us.
All right. All right, Bobby, we'll knock out this Tom Telesco sound. We'll go from here.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it.
Before coming to the U.S. and studying law. Today, we proudly carry on the Castordi family legacy. As brothers raised to fight for what's right, care for those in need, treat clients like family, we bring the very best legal team to fight for you. It's our heritage, it's the Castordi way. We're the Castordi brothers, and we have your back.
Brotherswin.com.
Remy Martin is the official cognac of the JT the Brick Show. When you're celebrating any of your team's victories, celebrate with Remy Martin Cognac, XO, VSOP, and 1738. Remy Martin, team up for excellence.
If you're struggling with weight and frustrated with dieting each and every year, Mark Patrick Seminars can help. Join the over 500,000 people who have attended Mark Patrick Seminars with great weight loss results. Mark Patrick Seminars will be in Las Vegas on Sunday, September 8th.
After the cirrhosis, I want to be treated.
Since August, I can honestly say I have not had one potato chip.
That's life-changing for me.
And I don't think about desserts like I used to. Bridget, how much have you lost now? I lost a total of 83 pounds.
Holy cow.
It's easy, it's fun, very relaxing, and very successful.
Why is it so simple?
The early bird special is only $49.99. Lose all the weight you want, 100% guaranteed. Sunday, September 8th at the Santa Fe Station Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Weight loss seminar 11 a.m. Registration at 10:30 a.m. Attend this program and find out how the power of hypnosis can help you achieve your weight loss goals. There's limited seating, so get there early. Learn more at markpatrickseminars.com.
Unsafe sleep conditions cause serious
I'm gonna need a drink tonight after this.
I was thinking.
Yeah. All right, Raider Nation, please hit like. We don't like the disparity between who subscribed and who likes. Can everyone just pound like? Take a second. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hit like, please. That thumbs up button. I'm even going to do it here. See if it takes me. All right. You got the sound I gave you, Bobby?
Yeah.
Cool.
How about a library of how games are played, how to make bets, and hot picks of the day? Join me at betmoneyhoney.com.
Bet Money Honey.
JT the Brick Show. Brought to you by PT's, the best happy hour in town, 5 to 7 p.m. and midnight to 2 a.m.
Actually, I didn't find out until I got to the building. I was waiting because you get that call, but I never got a call or a text from anyone. So I'm like, I knew we had a meeting today at 1 o'clock. So I'm like, man, let me just go to the building, see what's going on. So I got here and I was here. So that's about it, man.
McAllister makes the team. Happy I got a chance to call that punt return touchdown. That was a lot of fun, personally. You want to get a call like that if you get a chance. JT, we're brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka, one of the greatest success stories in this country is Tito. Started distilling in Austin and built it up to now a global presence, which is a monster presence. Show started 31 minutes ago. No one's on hold. I didn't fail you. We had Vinnie on. We had my 20-minute monologue. Let's wake up the Raider Nation and get people going. I'll just talk to this chat room that I have. We need people to get going every day here. My energy level is too high for people to sit back and wait to hear what I have to say. So wake up, get going. Well, this is Raider Nation Radio. I could do 2 hours on the NFL. As a matter of fact, I'd love to do more NFL here because I'm fascinated by the Eagles and what's happening with the Giants and the Seahawks and all these other games. But we're here for Raider fans. The roster has been set. Who's been snubbed? Who made the roster? Who do you think's got to step up? Who are you concerned with? Who would you like to replace from the practice squad to the starters on the 53? It's all wide open as I'll sit down with Tom Telesco tonight, Sandra Douglas Morgan, and Antonio Pierce, who have really, really been working hard. And especially putting this roster together from Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco on what they're going to have to do here. There's a couple of teams out there that are going through noise situations. I think the Steelers today, by naming Russell Wilson the starter, just couldn't handle it anymore. They just couldn't handle every day going in there and everybody asking him quarterback. I think Russell Wilson's getting screwed over. I really do. I think he's a great player. And they ran him out of Denver because he was too expensive, and Sean Payton didn't like him as a person. He was uncomfortable with him as a person, just didn't want to be around him. That's true. Anybody tell you anything else, they don't know what they're talking about. I got people inside. I know that's true. He didn't like Russell Wilson. Okay. Russell Wilson's a little bit quirky with Sierra, his wife, and that. So they ran him out of town. Then he gets to Mike Tomlin, one of the longest tenured coach in the NFL, as we're sitting here with one team, and Mike Tomlin busts his blank and makes him try out again. They bring him in there for $1 million and they make him try out against Justin Fields, who got pushed out of Chicago for Caleb Williams. So Pittsburgh wanted to quiet down that noise. Wilson's only a 9-time Pro Bowler, and they're acting like he just barely beat out Justin Fields. Give me a break. He's a 9-time Pro Bowler. Okay, he's not a god, but he's still got some good football here in front of him. Denver's got Bo Nix, which seemed to be a really good storyline for Denver. Denver needed something to get their fan base going, and it was Bo Nix. 702-365-9200. Raider fans have asked me personally, should we have traded up to get Bo Nix? No. Raiders didn't want to get Bo Nix at 12. They weren't going to trade up with Denver. They would have had to trade up with Atlanta, who took Michael Penix. They didn't want to trade out. They had their eye on Penix. Who are they going to trade with? The Jets? I thought the Jets made a mistake by not going after Brock Bowers. And the reason why Brock Bowers fell to the Raiders was because the Jets passed on Brock Bowers. The Jets have been trying to rebuild their offensive line. They want to protect Aaron Rodgers, which is fine by them. And it seems like the MVP of the preseason that everybody thinks has a chance to be super special is not Caleb Williams, who I watched on Hard Knocks last night, and he's impressive, is Jaden Daniels, who's very close with Antonio Pierce, very close with him. And Jaden Daniels just looked fantastic, and they think he's a Lamar Jackson on steroids. If he is, Lamar Jackson was pretty special and is pretty special. He's a 2-time MVP. So from Tom Telesco, this happened right after we got off the air. Yesterday, he talked about Keaton and McAllister and how they were able to grow throughout camp. So it was a tough decision, but a good one for the Raiders.
Yeah, I think, both of them kind of showed, slow and steady improvement. I mean, that's kind of what it is when you're coming into the league as a young player. But you saw from the beginning of OTAs until that last preseason game that there's some skill there to work with. And the goal is, not to have, obviously you want to have the strongest 53-man roster possible, but to us, the practice squad is just as important. So we want to have the strongest 69-man roster as we can as we put this all together. But some of the things those guys showed, certainly what McAllister showed on special teams, which is going to have to be a role for these guys at the back end. And it was nice in that last preseason game, certainly for those two guys and some others, to play a lot of snaps. And I like how Antonio set that up in the third preseason game where a lot of young players played a lot. I mean, these guys haven't played a full game, a lot of our younger players, since their last game in college. And the way the preseason is, and especially when we're going to play the starters early on, there just aren't a lot of snaps. So to get guys get a chance to get a lot of work, get in a rhythm of series after series, and to see those two guys perform in that third preseason game was certainly important.
Yeah, I think it was important that two guys made the team. And, more, too, when you look at guys who are on the bubble. But those two guys on the bubble did what they needed to do to make the team. And that's so rewarding. It's refreshing. It's a big part of what the NFL is about, is to sell the dream to young kids in college that if you don't get drafted and you get invited to a team and you get a chance to try out, you can make the team. And it was fun to hear about McAllister being the best punt returner and what he did in the CFL. So we know he caught a lot of balls in a professional league in adverse weather and did a pretty good job, and he makes the team here. All the linebackers on the roster, I'm impressed with 2 or 3, but they have depth at the linebacker position here. Tom Telesco talked about the linebacker depth overall and what it's going to take potentially for trading one of these guys, moving space to get someone else.
Yeah, that's what everybody up here is doing now. We're probably doing the same thing you guys are doing, where we're just kind of gathering names off social media to see who's been released, since not everybody's put their cuts out yet. They won't be official till around 4 or 5 o'clock. So, yeah, we've done a lot of work leading up to this as far as having reports on everybody and see who's out there who maybe can strengthen us. And that's what we'll look at tonight and tomorrow until Wednesday and Thursday and see how that plays out.
So you would say, being around the GM and a staff and a scouting department, this is where all these men and women get paid. They really have to have deep tentacles out there, finding out who are those players, that one player that they scouted that they know well, they believe could be the player that could come in and be added to the practice squad, could come off waivers, the Raiders could get them, and then develop them so they're ready if they need them down the road. You might not think that's a big deal. It is a big deal. It's part of what these men and women do in the scouting department, in the football side of the building. They get paid and evaluated on the overall work they do 24/7, close to 365. And they are in a bunker right now trying to figure this out. Tom Telesco was asked about the position group that needs the most veteran leadership.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a specific position group, but I think all the young players need to kind of latch on and follow some of the veterans and be mentors. And, just a lot of it's just listening and watching and see how professional football players handle themselves. It's completely different than college. These young guys, they don't have to worry about going to class anymore. This is what they do for a living, and it's a business now. So there's a lot of resources that these players have. And there's a lot of things that we talk to them about that they don't even know that they have. We have to make sure they know the resources they have both on and off the field to be a great player in this league. And emphasizing some of those resources are off the field, because there's a lot of things that come at you as a professional player and kind of distract you away from what you need to do to get on the field. So, I really, with most of our guys, most of our younger players, it's really using our player engagement staff as much as possible with Montel Sanders and that group. And then, trying to follow some veterans and just see how this thing works.
Yeah, following the veterans and to see what's going to happen and how you develop these young players on the practice squad, keep them ready so they're ready to pounce if someone gets injured and they come up and they're around the team. They know the terminology. They know the scheme. They're in the locker room all the time. They're comfortable, and they play to the maximum, to the best of their ability. The brothers have your back. BrothersWin.com. That's Alex in Orlando to Castaverde. They've recovered hundreds of millions for their clients. They're a family-run law firm since 1989, predicated and built on the legacy of their great father. They have over a century of combined experience. So when you need a personal injury lawyer, when you get into an accident or injured, it's at the Castaverde Law Group. Give them a call, 702-222-9999, as we begin here. Motor vehicle collisions, medical malpractice, confidential cases, wrongful death. They're an unbelievable law group. But we talk about them all the time because Vegas is crazy with car accidents here and what happens here in this town. Almost like no other place I've ever lived. So the BrothersWin.com, the brothers have your back. Jeff Sherman from the Westgate as we take a look at the first week odds, an important segment coming up next.
Here's what you missed on unnecessary roughness.
You got to be able to lead these guys. Let that thing rip. And that's going to be the biggest key, I think, for this whole offense leading into September 8th. Get down to the point where you know where these guys need the ball so they can make plays afterwards. You're not going to hear a lot of what we just heard, that deep shot. You're not going to hear a ton of that.
So who's the guy who says we won't even beat the Donkeys
this
season?
It can't be a 48-yard completion.
After we beat them 8 times in a row.
Unnecessary roughness.
Anybody know who this dummy is?
At 2 on Raider Nation
Size
Radio,
1, 2,
920
Lupina,
AM.
whatever that fake
This is
name
John
is,
Barr,
troll name
General
is.
Manager at Finley Toyota.
Won't beat the
Been thinking
Donkeys
about
once
getting a new
this season,
truck?
huh?
Now's the time. We've got huge incentives on the powerful Toyota Tundra and Tacoma. These trucks are built to handle anything you throw at them. With these deals, they're more
banned him before.
affordable
I
than
don't
ever.
remember.
But
Most
these
of these
offers
people I don't
won't
remember.
last. Come see us at Finley Toyota before they're
Put him in a
gone. Make
timeout.
sure
Bobby
you
likes
drive
when I
off in
put
the
him in a
truck you've
timeout.
always wanted at
You can
the
do a
price
30-minute
deserve.
timeout. I like
Finley
24-hour
Nevada's
timeout.
number one
You
selling
can do,
dealership.
Bobby, you can do a
at the Valley
10-second
Auto Mall in
timeout.
Henderson.
A minute timeout. Let's do a 24-minute
return
timeout.
to the Las Vegas Strip, November
He's in
21st to the
timeout, like a
23rd.
little-
The
like a little
3.8-mile
troll.
track
Timeout.
features 17 turns, moving through the world's most iconic resort destinations at speeds of over 215 miles per hour. Tickets are on sale now for the Can't Miss Race of 2024. With multiple zones across the race circuit, there's options for every fan. Discover a variety of brand new general admission, grandstand, and hospitality.
I mean, we're going to talk about some of the win totals, and I'm going to talk mostly first week.
Nobody has you covered like Dollar Loan Center with signature loans up to $5,000 in minutes. We have over 50 locations. And if you're a new customer, your first loan is on us. We're offering new customers the chance to experience the DLC like never before for free. You heard it right. No fees at all and free interest for a week. Borrow up to $5,000 and keep it for a week. Then all you owe us back is the principal. Stop by one of our over 50 gorgeous locations in Nevada and Utah, and our awesome Dollar Loan Center staff will tell you all about it. Apply at don'tbebroke.com. Give us a call or find a Dollar Loan Center near you. And remember, at DLC, your first loan is on us.
Licensed by the Nevada Financial Institutions Division. Customer must meet the local qualifications. Review local qualifications. Visit don'tbebroke.com. Certain limitations.
All right.
Treasure Island
Keep
has
this
some of the
going
best
for a
food
while
and entertainment
longer.
in Vegas. Enjoy Phil's
We got a guy
Steakhouse,
coming
a
in
classic
studio. We're not
steakhouse
gonna
that
do
features
that here
prime
on
cuts of meat,
YouTube.
seafood, and Italian specialties. Treasure Island is also home to Gillies, a longtime favorite of
You see,
tourists
they
and
cleared out all
locals.
the
A
Mirage
honky-tonk
statues,
atmosphere with live
dolphins, and
music
put them in
and
the
dance
Neon
floor for
Museum.
2-7 and line
Sharp
dancing.
move.
Check out their toughest cowboy competition every Thursday with $200 up for grabs. Treasure Island, where parking is free. Visit Treasure Island and experience the best value on the Strip. Must be 21 years or older. Please drink responsibly. Management reserves all rights.
I'm Justin Watkins with Battleborn Injury Lawyers, and I have to laugh when I hear all the attorneys out there falling all over themselves to tell you who's bigger, who's better, or who's richer. It's funny because the American Bar Association found the most common complaints of lawyers is neglect and lack of communication. It's about customer service. At Battleborn, we pride ourselves on how we treat our clients, and our clients seem to really appreciate it. Check out our Google reviews or call 766-1400 for a free consultation. At Battleborn, your battle is our fight.
1877 Cars for Kids.
KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids.
Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. Your car, running or not, can be picked up as soon as the next day. No title, no problem. Go to carsforkids.org today.
1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Port of Subs fans, you've got to get the new Port of Subs app. It's so easy to order your sliced fresh favorites for pickup or delivery. And when you register for Port Perks Rewards, you'll earn free stuff. We're talking free subs, free desserts, and more. Already a Port of Subs app user or Port Perks member? Update your app to get in on the fun. Download or update your Port of Subs app before August 31st, and you'll receive a free small sub. Don't wait. Start earning free stuff today.
Slice fresh sandwiches, Port of Subs.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by Comisario Tequila, the official tequila of the JT the Brick Show.
The window never closes, and it's not going to close on us, but it'll narrow. It'll narrow significantly next year. So if the window's open as it's going to be for some time right now, everybody needs to be on board. And that's why Trent, I think he set the market, and I think Jed and everybody's willing to do that because he's the best tackle in the league. And then now you're going to come back and say, no, I want to set it again because, there's another $8 million collectively that I can go get, and I'm on the last contract, and I'm getting old. It's like, bro, do you not see what we're trying to get done here?
That's Steve Young on KMBR in San Francisco on Trent Williams, who's just holding out because he wants more money. He's a mercenary. He's been really paid high at his position for quite some time, and he wants more money. And Steve Young's basically saying, do you see what we got going on here? We're on the verge of winning a Super Bowl. We've lost 2 recent Super Bowls, and you're holding this whole thing up by wanting to get paid more. And when that happens, that's something to take a look at. Is the team there over there, are they in a position where they're close, and then they got a couple of contract holdouts, and you're looking at the situation going, man, you could screw this whole thing up, Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk. You could be really screwing this thing up because you're a chemistry problem now because you're not available. And Brock Purdy needs the best left tackle in football to practice. He needs him every day. They're trying to figure out exactly what's going on, and they don't have one of the best players on their team. 702-365-9200 is Jeff Sherman's calling in, and we'll have him momentarily as we get rolling here. We'll look at some of the odds as we look at the NFC East. I'm looking at the AFC West for obvious reasons. I live in that path, and we're trying to get a good eye on what's going to happen in these first couple of games. These first couple of games are big time. Ravens, Chiefs, Thursday night. A week from tomorrow, Jeff Sherman joins us, VP of Risk Management over at the Westgate. Jeff, any line movement there? It seems like it's been Chiefs -3 for a while here. How do you have it?
Yeah, we're sitting at -2.5, -120. So
Okay.
It's been a lot of Chiefs support so far, a little bit one way, but hesitant to go to 3 yet.
All right, let us know what's going on at the Superbook, your new updated pricing for football. This is making national news, especially today. What's going on there?
Yeah, we just implemented starting today, and this will generally take place every Monday around noon for each week, but NFL point spreads are going to be -108, not the traditional -110 that everyone has been used to. In college football, -109 on the point spreads for the regular games. We also have a few unique things with Thursday night NFL games. We'll be using a 10-cent line, so -105 each side. Same thing with the Thanksgiving and Christmas games, and even UNLV football games on game days. So we're trying some more favorable pricing on the spreads for players.
How unique is that compared to some of the other big books? You're the sharpest book in town. It's been that way for a while. Do you expect others to copy this?
I think it's just going to make things more competitive. I know -110 has been around for so long and have been a